Hey guys, Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about a very important topic. Are you safe at home? We often hear a lot about workplace safety, injuries, there's a lot of training around this area. But what do we practice at home? Are we safe at home? Over 18,000 Americans die per year from injuries and accidents at home. Are we safe at home? Let's talk about it. All right, guys. So let's talk about, are we safe at home? Most of us are familiar with OSHA, right? The Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And it's ran under the U.S. Department of Labor. Now, OSHA regulates safe and healthful conditions for workers while they are working for their employers, right? So OSHA enforces standards, provides training. As you know, they may be at your site doing inspections, they levy fines, people go to jail sometimes, right? So under the OSHA law, employers are responsible for providing a safe and healthful workplace for their workers. Now, OSHA does regulate a bit when it comes to workers working remotely on behalf of employers, but who regulates your everyday home safety? Who does that? There is no regulatory body that does that. We are responsible for our safety at home. All right, guys. Before we get into some of the common home safety hazards, I'd like to share just a couple of my personal safety issues at home. The other day I was doing something that many people probably do at home. We had a couple of heavy storms here in Houston, Texas, recently, back to back. And I had some branches on a tree that had come down. So over the weekend on Saturday, it was a nice Saturday, things had kind of cleared up. I said, I'm gonna go out and trim up those branches because a couple of them were pretty big, so I had to cut them, but then of course I had to trim to get the smaller branches to get to the bigger ones. So I had started off just kind of being a little casual doing it, but then something said, hey, you know what? This is a safety issue. You need to go back in there and get your protection for your head. So I put on a hat to kind of protect me from the sun and also from any falling debris. I went in and I put on my gloves, and then I even put on my safety glasses, right? Because sometimes when you're at home, you just kind of like, okay, this is a nice day. Birds are chirping and the sun's out. I'm gonna go out and just do a little yard work. But we don't think about all the things that we would be doing if we were doing that at work, for example, right? So I went back, put on all my PPE, personal protective equipment, and sure enough, as I started trimming, things start falling and, fell on my face, over my head, and man, I sure was happy that I had really had the thought to put on all of the PPE that really protected me, right? So we can't forget about safety when it comes to us just doing just like normal little routines or housekeeping kind of things that we think of when we're at home. Just share another quick little story. The other day, I was trying to get some coffee because our pods had ran out at the coffee station. So we keep the coffee, and we drink Folgers. That's what I like. Now, I don't know what you guys like. You guys may like the Starbucks or other coffee, but it's nothing like a good cup of Folgers coffee. But anyway, we keep the box all the way up top in the pantry. Right, you guys know what I'm talking about. And you're up there trying to reach, stretching and trying to get to that top shelf and getting on your tippy toes. I was doing all of that. Something said, hey man, slow down, go get the stool. So you don't have to do all of that, right? So I went and got the stool and got up there and got the coffee. But how many of us do that on a regular basis? We're trying to stretch and get something on that top shelf in that back corner. You guys know what I'm talking about. That's safety. Now, if we were at work, we wouldn't do that, right? Or we shouldn't do that. Or your safety manager or the safety inspector would come around and tell you, hey, go get a ladder, go get a stool. Or they would tell you to store it at an appropriate height, right? So a lot of things you can do when you can strain your muscle, you can pull something in your back, especially as we get older, these things are very important, but some of it has nothing to do with age. You could trip and fall over or a lot of different things, guys. One more story, because I know you guys all do this too. So I know it's not just common to me, but these are safety things, and we don't think about them sometimes when we're at home. What about when you're one of your loved ones? Now, I'm not going to tell you which one, because I have several of my loved ones that do this. Yeah, they like to put little stuff on the stairs. Maybe they don't want to walk up the stairs, so they say, okay, I'm gonna sit this on the step right here, so as somebody is going up, they can take it with them. Or maybe I got one of my loved ones, they like to jog, and so this person takes the shoes off sometimes and put them, they're out of the way, but sometimes they put them in the middle of the step, and you gotta walk over things. Or if you're trying to walk down the stairs or walk up the stairs, you don't want to trip and fall. Believe me, that hurts. You're talking broken bones. You're talking people dying, fractured hips. A lot of stuff can happen, guys, just from little things that we do on a day-to-day basis, and we don't really consider them safety hazards. But if we were at work, that's exactly what they would be. They would be considered safety hazards, guys. So we have to be safe at home. Now, I want to get into some of the common safety hazards that people face at home. I'm going to cover 10 of them. Did you know, as I mentioned earlier, over 18,000 Americans die per year. Now, that's just in America. Now, just think about worldwide. How many people are dying when it comes just to injuries and accidents at home? We're supposed to be safe at home. That's our safe place. So why would we be safe at home? In America, household accidents account for 21 million trips to the hospital each year. Let me say that again. 21 million visits to the hospital per year are associated with household accidents. Household accidents cost over 220 billion with a B. Let me say that again. Home accidents cost over 220 billion with a B per year in medical costs. Wow. You guys, we need to be safe at home. If this was at work, we wouldn't do some of these things. And the sad thing about it is that safety culture at home carries over to work, right? So you don't have a safety culture at home, then you go to work and you carry that same bad safety culture to work. But at work, there's safety procedures, policies, OSHA regulations and laws. You have the safety manager, you have an HSE coordinator, people walking the floor, monitoring safety. And so often what happens is they see your same poor safety behaviors that you have at home, you bring them to work, and then you end up getting written up or what we call like safety cards or incident report, or you end up getting injured at work because we do some of these same bad behaviors at home. So let's talk about the first one. Top 10 common safety hazards around the house, guys. The first one, slip and falls. Slip and falls. The leading cause of death in home accidents is from slips and falls. You guys think about people in your family, or think about just this year, how many times, maybe even you yourself, almost you slipped and fell. You could slip and fall because people maybe left water on the floor. That happens a lot at my house. Or sometimes people are getting ice out of the ice machine and out of the refrigerator, and an extra ice cube falls onto the floor and they don't pick it up, right? So I'm a pretty big stickler. I may, reach out to them and say, hey, you need to clean that up, pick up that ice cube, or sometimes I just clean it up. We talked about putting items on the stairs. That's a big thing, right? Guys, when people fall from stairs, especially from high levels, that is a serious fall. Now, there are some things we can do, as I talked about. Clean up after ourselves. Make sure you're mopping things up, sweeping things up. You can install slip treads in certain areas, especially like in your tubs, in your showers, where people often slip and fall. Putting rugs in certain places where water is prone to gather or to be spilled, such as coming out of the shower or getting out of the tub, things of this nature. Guys, there's many things that we can do to prevent slips and falls, but just think about that. Let's be more careful when it comes to creating hazards when it comes to slips and falls. All right, guys, let's talk about the second leading cause of fatalities at home is poisoning. Even things like lead paint. As of 1978, the use of lead paint was outlawed for residential painting, but there could be other chemicals that you have stored around your house. They should be stored properly. This could be paints, pesticides, Clorox, detergents, all these chemicals that we have around our home, and they may not be stored properly. So we have to make sure that all of our chemicals are stored in the appropriate places, stored out of the reach of small children, and make sure that everything is labeled properly, stored properly. Spend time to talk to people or your children or other people about these chemicals and the impacts of these chemicals. Make sure things are stored where there's airflow, right? So even in the garage, you may have a pool where you may have chlorine, you may have different acids, things of this nature, algicides. All of these things are chemicals, and you need to have them. Or what about this one? We all may have this one, gas, in a gas container for the lawnmower, right? Store all of that stuff properly. Make sure that it's labeled properly. Let's talk about the third one, carbon monoxide. Wow, guys, the silent killer. No smell, no taste. You don't even know about it until you're dead. That's crazy. Guys, we can prevent this. We can install carbon monoxide detectors in our homes. So I'd like for you to make sure you have this installed in your homes. Test them out. Make sure the batteries are working. Make sure that you have them mounted about 6 feet above appliances such as gas stoves, water heaters, things of this nature. Or, sometimes when your lights go out, you have the generator that kicks on, is generating carbon monoxide. People have died from this and not even knowing it. Even in the garage, you're sitting in the garage, idling your car, and your car is generating carbon monoxide. All right, guys, so let's be careful on that. Fires. Wow. Fires, guys. So many people die from this. And then it is such a catastrophe when your house catches on fire. Now, fires are usually caused by poor electrical wiring inside your walls, appliances. You know, you can kind of see these cords, electrical cords are all frayed and we're still using them. Guys, make sure that all your outlets are good, your electrical, if you see any protruding wires, take care of that. Don't use candles. You know, when your lights go out, sometimes people light a candle, that's a fire hazard. People smoking inside their homes. There's been many times people drop a cigarette, it's lit, or they put it in the trash can, causes a fire. Make sure we install smoke detectors and make sure that those smoke detectors are working. Test them once a month. Make sure those batteries are good. Does no good to have a smoke detector and it does not work. Come on now. We also need to monitor, like when you're cooking, frying things and that grease gets everywhere. That's a good way for a grease fire, which are very hard to get out. And just keep in mind, guys, when like during Christmas, right? It's a very festive time. We're supposed to be having a really good time, having family over. All those Christmas lights, plugging things into the wrong things, or you have things plugged into overloading those electrical circuits. Guys, that's a recipe for house fires. Putting matches and lighters for kids that they can get a hold to those things, put those things up. So those kids, man, kids are very curious. They're going to try to use that, light it, put your house on fire. Next one, drowning. Wow, drowning, guys. People at home, this is where we're supposed to be safe, and we're drowning in pools, we're drowning in bathtubs. We have to stop this. So we have to watch our children. We also have to watch older adults if we're watching them or taking care of our parents or our grandparents. Guys, so many things can happen when you're in a tub. You're like, man, how can you drown in a tub? Well, what if you lose consciousness or you have some kind of episode, you sink into the water and you could drown. Now, always make sure that you have proper equipment, especially if you have a pool, right? You have life vests, you have these tubes, and you can have these safety lines, just anything, because when somebody's drowning, they're looking for something to grab a hold of, these poles, or you can go and rescue them. Guys, we can't just be negligent at home. We're supposed to be having a good time and relaxing, but man, that is no good. People drowning at home. So we want to always supervise our children when we're taking baths. Like I have 4 children, and we never left them alone in the tub, and we would only run a certain amount of water. So if something did happen, they were not in danger of drowning. But just never leave them. Phone rings or I want to go turn this up, and you come back and the baby has drowned or something. It's not worth it. Don't leave your baby in the tub, not even for 1 second. Check on your family members, right? I mean, it could be an adult, healthy adult. Something happens. If a bath that should only take, or they normally take 20 minutes and they've been in there an hour or less or more than 20 minutes, go check on them. You never know. Something could happen. These electrical things next to the tub or next to the shower, like your hair dryer, radios, things of this nature. Don't leave that by the shower, guys. What about our next one? Choking. Wow. You guys, I have 4 kids, as I mentioned, and all of them want to put stuff in their mouths and, these little small toys. You know, in some instances, they've actually outlawed all these little small toys, kids putting them in their mouths, choking, dying. And even us, we're guilty of when we're eating, trying to eat real fast. I have another loved one likes to eat real fast. Hey man, slow down. Chew your food. You'd be surprised. You guys ever have that where you're trying to eat and something goes down, what we call, oh man, something went down the wrong pipe. Guys, it didn't go down the wrong pipe. We're not chewing, taking our time, trying to talk. We're trying to eat at the same time, and we need to breathe. All these things are going on at the same time, guys. That's a recipe for choking. So be careful when you're eating, or be mindful when you see children playing with these small objects. Know how to do that Heimlich maneuver. You guys look that up. Heimlich maneuver. Make sure that you're able to help someone if they are choking. What about sharp objects like knives, forks, equipment that we use in the yard, for example? I have a lot of sharp equipment. I have trimmers. I have things to cut branches with. I have little pruners. I have little garden tools, rakes, shovels, all these things. These are things that are, okay, these are just little things we're using, but guys, they could be dangerous, right? So keep things stored properly. Teach everyone on how to use knives properly, how to hold a knife properly. When you're handing a knife, don't hand it to someone with the pointed end facing the person. Or when you're walking with a knife, hold the sharp end of the knife down by your side. These things, they seem like we may know that, but a lot of our loved ones may not know this because they may not have been exposed to safety training, or people at their homes may not be talking about these things, right? But that's why we're talking about it today. Make sure you're wearing your proper PPE. I told you how that saved me, guys. Wear that PPE when it comes to operating or using sharp objects at your home. All right. What about stoves? We all got to cook. We all got to eat, guys. But let's watch ourselves around the stove. It's a very dangerous area, especially if you have a gas stove or one of those electrical stoves that get real bright orange. Guess what? That's very attractive. It's like a magnet to a little kid. They're going to go and try to touch it. You have those handles when you're cooking with your pots and your pans. You have those handles pointing out towards the person as opposed to the side, or having the handle towards the back. Sure enough, a little young kid will go and try to grab that, and before you know it, they've been burnt in their face or a big portion of their body. See, a lot of these things, guys, we don't think about it, but there's no coming back from a lot of this. That's what we have to think about, safety first, because if you don't think about safety first and you think about safety second, some of those things you don't come back from. That's what we're trying to avoid, guys. Make sure you turn the stove off after you're cooking. You'd be surprised how many people forget to turn the stove off, especially if you have a gas stove. Again, you have the carbon monoxide issue. And then you also have potential of people getting burnt, okay? And make sure, as I talked about, cleaning that oil and grease, after you're cooking. Don't let that build up. That's an opportunity for a grease fire. What about dishwashers? Sometimes we don't think about that, but of course we got to cook. And so, of course, you got to clean the dishes. Now, we could just clean them or wash them in the sink. Some of us still do that, but most of us are using a dishwasher. A dishwasher, you got chemicals. You got water in that dishwasher at very hot temperatures, guys. That's how the dishwasher works. It's chemicals and hot water. So we need to be mindful. A lot of us will go in there, will open that dishwasher, and all of that hot water hitting us in our face, or all of that steam, that could burn you. could burn your child, could burn your loved one. You know, make sure that we don't just put the dishwasher detergent in and don't turn it on. Some people do that. You know, those are chemicals in there, and those chemicals can react and have a reaction to other chemicals, and things could happen, guys. So you need to just be mindful of these. These things seem so innocent, you know, things that we do on a routine basis, but people are dying every day. People are suffering injuries, life-changing injuries at home, not at work. At home, guys. What about this last one? Suffocation. Wow, bad way to die right there. Suffocation. But do you know all these little plastic bags, like when you go to the grocery store or you're going to some kind of retail store, everything is plastic. And guess what? You just lay it around the house. Those little plastic with the little bubbles that the little kids like to pop. I like to pop them too sometimes, okay? But I'm not gonna suffocate. A little kid could suffocate from that, all right? So we need to be careful when just laying things around the house, all those Amazon bags, plastic. What kid's gonna do? We open the bag and put it to the side. A little kid comes, put that over their head. And, you know, if we're not watching them, you know, something bad could happen, all right? These strings and cords and ropes that are on bags, you know, these things could cause suffocation. We need to be, we don't even think about it sometimes. That's why I'm doing this video, because we don't think about these very innocent things sometimes. What about these pillows? I have one of those pillows, you know, those memory foam pillows, and you know, you put your head in there and it just sinks down into the pillow. Well, what if something happens during the night? You know, we have some kind of episode or lose consciousness. It's an opportunity for suffocation, guys. So these 10 things, guys, we need to be very careful and mindful that we are establishing a safety culture at home, not just at work. It starts at home. Safety first at home. And safety starts at home. Beyond just safety first, safety starts at home. Here's some resources. I want you to go check them out. Check out the National Safety Council. Probably have to go in there, type home safety. You'll get some information, some tips, some literature that will help you. Also, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, they also provide some information about home safety under the Office of Healthy Homes and Lead Hazard Control. And also maybe check out the Home Safety Council. Of course, this video that I'm doing right now would be very beneficial. Share it with people. Guys, to me, home is supposed to be a place where I should feel safe. And I want to relax. I want to feel comfortable. I want to make sure all of my family is safe. But that also entails me being a safety leader, and also everybody else in the home being a safety leader, being safety conscious, not just doing things that are creating safety hazards for other loved ones, being mindful. You know, you may need to be that one. You may need to be that one. Maybe there's no one else in your family that's thinking about safety at home. Well, it needs to be you. You step up, be the safety leader at your house. Take the time to model those behaviors, right? Like I mentioned about my story when I was cutting. You know, that's a good example to use proper PPE. When my kids were mowing the lawn, you know, when they first started, they want to go out there with their tennis shoes and have their headphones and all of that. No, go put on your steel toe boots. Make sure you have on your glasses, put your hat on, make sure you have water. You know, even cutting the lawn, guys, are things that can cause a lot of issues in regards to safety at home. So remember, safety first. Not safety second. Don't think about it second. Think about it first, and we can avoid a lot of these things that I've talked about. Let me know what you think about this video about working safely or just living safely at home. What about that? Living safely at home. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. Let me know if you have some additional hazards or tips that you can share with other people that can keep us all safe when we are at home. Guys, I would encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification button so that you are notified when we drop new content. Take a second to follow, like, and share the video. All right, somebody needs to hear this, guys. I mentioned to you, 18,000 people per year are dying from this, and you may know someone, maybe someone in your family even have died from a drowning or a slip and a fall or other things that we've talked about. Share this with your family. Sit down, talk to them, maybe play the video so people can really start to understand that we can't just be all relaxed at home and just doing things haphazardly. We have to also be mindful. We want home to be comfortable. We want home to be safe. Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group, helping organizations and people improve their operations and reduce their risk. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.